I think part of it as well at the moment is that it has to go beyond just like a customer persona type now, doesn't it? Because there's so much focus on tenant voice and being able to sort of demonstrate you're acting upon that. I think it's more capturing preference in certain ways, whether that be communication methods, whether it be first language, or even obviously adding in things like customer persona and sort of tenure type and what have you. But I think it does need to be that level of specific.
There's almost different types of preference, so to say, as well. So I think there's sort of explicit preference where somebody has said, when you communicate with me, I'd prefer to be communicated to in this language.
Yeah.
Where somebody says, when you communicate with me, I'd prefer it to be SMS. And then I would state that there's probably perceived preference, and preference may be the wrong word here, but there's perceived interest or perceived preference whereby, based on the data we hold about you, I guess first things, I'm talking about people that we know we are legally allowed to communicate to based on GDPR preferences, but assuming we can, based on the data we hold about you, we think you would be interested in this type of communication. So, for example, I'm going back to shared ownership again, but if somebody has applied for a shared ownership property and not been successful in sort of being accepted and purchasing a shared ownership property, I would assume they're possibly interested in further shared ownership properties.
Yeah.
And then if they are interested in shared ownership properties, if they previously applied for a shared ownership property in Chester, I'm using Chester because it's easy, we're here, we probably shouldn't communicate to them about shared ownership properties in Southampton, because I imagine that their preference would not be to up sticks and move a 4.5-hour drive away.
Yeah.
And we have that data. We have all of this data. I find that it just tends to sit in spreadsheets, and it tends or little black books, or in sort of rogue databases that have been set up intradepartmentally. So yeah, I think number one, it's a sort of all hands to the pump company effort. Number two, your systems need to be able to do it, and then number three, I think you need to not get carried away with segmentation for segmentation's sake.
Yeah.
I think it's about identifying what does phase one of segmentation look like, and then you can iterate and adapt.